Welcome everybody to Conventional Wisdom Sucks. I am Anne Riley, and we're going to have a little bit of a special episode today. One of my viewers, Adam Lauver, emailed me or responded with a really astute comment, and I want to address that today. It's really good. Let me read you exactly what he said. He said, "You cannot use science as a foundation of agreement because of the anti-intellectual and anti-science movements. You'd need to find common ground that includes religion." And I he makes such a good point. Maybe he didn't even realize he was making such a good point, is that he's right in that throughout history, the early adopters are the winners in almost every case, right? You look at the universe, when it exploded with all of its energy out in the universe, still this day, 13.9 billion or 8 billion years later, there are still 74% of the material in the universe, or the stuff in the universe that we know of, is energy. 74% is dark energy that we don't even know anything about. So you can see that even after all this time, energy is still the big winner. And the same thing with matter. Matter is only 6% of all the matter in the universe. But if you look at the matter we have, here we are 13.8 billion years later, and hydrogen is the big winner. All of the matter in the world, 92% of it is still hydrogen. What's interesting is 6% of it is helium, and all the other elements that we know about, gold, uranium, tin, all of these things, only 2% are those heavier elements. So again, we see this very common occurrence where the early formation of a thing remains dominant for long periods of time. Same thing, let's go to the next thing, is matter created life at some point on Earth. And if we look at life today, 80% of all life forms are single-celled organisms. And almost 100% of them all have DNA as their base. So here we have the early adopters are the most successful, okay? Now we get to humans. And the earliest ideas in humans seem to be, or the ones that really stuck, were these ideas about God. And it seemed universal that the idea of God came up in every culture. But here's the problem. This idea is not provable. We know that DNA is provable. It's a fact. We know that matter and hydrogen are a fact. We know that energy in the universe, that is a fact. But when we get to ideas, humans can do non-fact, right? We can make up stuff. We can make up ideas, and we can build stuff out of those ideas that isn't really real. Remember, there's two kinds of ideas. There's true and non-true. And the problem with the God idea is that it's not provable. So it doesn't have an anchor. When you go back to life and you look at DNA, you will run into the fact that DNA is the basis of all life. And if you try to work off the assumption that it's a different type of base in life, it won't work. You're going to run into the facts that DNA is the winner. But on ideas, you can go a long way on an idea that is not true. So Adam makes the point that because the idea of God is so universal and there's so many people who buy into that non-provable fact, that you just have to assume that the truth going forward has to include that non-provable fact in order to make it go forward. And he hits on exactly the problem we have. We're living in a world now where these two things are in conflict. Fact and non-fact are in conflict. And we have to, well, we don't have to do anything. People are human, right? They can do whatever they want. But if we want to create a universal idea that everyone accepts, we have to go back to a place where facts exist. And that is in nature. That is, we have to parse out our ideas between true ideas, which are based on some sort of repeatable, reliable information, and and non-true ideas, which are not provable, not reliable, and not repeatable. And that's where we are. We're at that point where we have to start looking at making a different decision, because the God idea is sort of running its course, in the sense that it's not helpful in unifying us. It's not helpful in making a better world. Because it's not anchored in fact, it just creates division after division after division, which is what we're seeing. And, 10,000 years after we created the concept of God, we're more divided than ever. So what I'm saying with the Prime Directive is that we just have to go back to where facts exist and look at where those facts exist and create a universal idea from there. And this is why I come up with, well, what does life do? How does it work together? How does it cooperate? How does it coordinate? It does it by making sure that every participant is protected, and the society, or in this case, the body itself, is protected. And it does everything it can to make sure those two things happen. So my best guess with the Prime Directive is that we do the same thing. We look at an idea that protects every single person and our societies. Okay, so Adam, thank you for the comment. It was really, really helpful and really, really good. And we will talk later about our first, the first topic I'm choosing for conventional wisdom, and we'll do that next time. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.